Good afternoon, everyone. Calling to order Clark County Council for council time this Wednesday, October 29th, 2025. Let's start with a roll call.
Councillor Young,
Here.
Councillor Belcott,
Present.
Councillor Fuentes,
Here.
and Chair Marshall.
Here.
Thank you.
Are there any amendments to the agenda?
None today.
Thank you. And then on to public comment. Just a reminder to folks, please keep your comments to agenda items that are on the council time agenda, and you're limited to 3 minutes. So we're pulling the list up and it'll be here very soon.
Bruce Barnes,
Good afternoon, Council. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. The city doesn't allow it, so it's very nice to be able to come here and publicly speak and have it recorded on CCTV. I'm here to talk about a couple things today. One would be your new business on the sales tax for housing and related services. There's a program right now in the state of Washington. I don't know if you've seen any of the YouTube videos or anything about what's going on for disadvantaged people of color. And they had this fund when you sell a house and when you buy a house, there's money that goes in that fund, right? There's millions and millions and millions of dollars, right? Well, they found out that all this money was getting scammed. The people running the program were paying off credit cards and everything else. You can look it up on YouTube for yourself. So when I see what's going on with the Vancouver Housing Authority, and all the fees being waived for developers in the community and no parking and everything else being a requirement, I'm extremely concerned because people that live in apartments don't pay property tax. And counties and cities sign deals with developers for 8, 10, and 12 years to where the developer doesn't pay any tax either, as long as there's some low income housing in there. And I'm up for people having housing, but we don't have the roads and we don't have the jobs to encourage more people to come to this community, period. It's evident and obvious. There's a huge unemployment problem and a huge homeless problem. I was in Klickitat County yesterday, and you can't believe the disaster along the Klickitat River. It is appalling to me to see that our natural areas are being invaded by drug addicts that leave all their crap, their trailers, and everything along our waterways where there's fish and wildlife. It's absolutely ridiculous. That's another thing I wanted to lead into is your public works cleaning up the homeless garbage. When you go out to 99th Street, you go out to 78th Street, you go to all these places, that's the Department of Transportation's job to clean those projects up, right? Where these people are leaving all their garbage. I would encourage the Department of Transportation that fenced down here on Mill Plain and also fenced out at 112th to fence those areas off. It's pretty simple. That was a pilot project 2 years ago. It worked. We need to do that in our county so we don't have all this garbage everywhere that my taxes, which I'm paying today, which are $14,000, have to pay for. I'm over it. And so are a lot of other taxpayers. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
I don't have anybody else signed up on the sheet. I do have one caller online.
Okay.
Caller, you've been sent a request to unmute. Please go ahead and do so. State your name for the record and go ahead with your comment.
Hi, this is Kimberly Goheen Elbin, life citizen of Clark County, Washington, USA. I'm in a little bit of pain. My right knee is hurting for the last couple of weeks, but I consider it my duty to speak up and do the best I can. I'm going to go to I'm on the phone today. I copied papers and stuff, but I don't have them with me. So your business process, amendments to council time, everything that you guys do, in my opinion, is corrupt. I think it's misleading. I think it's for your own business to do. In other words, I'm going to make sure that before I stop my duty, which maybe never, that I can be able to speak on the work session today. I think that's important. It's on the agenda. It's on the day's agenda. Yes, it's a different time, but that's okay. People took lunch. It has the same webinar number and access code. That's the same following as far as the minutes. Chair Sue Marshall took away that you can't speak on the minutes. What kind of insanity is that? Our past is very important if something came up. So
Excuse
we
me,
got to
Kimberly,
change.
is there something on the
And
agenda you'd
so,
like to speak
yes,
to?
so number 7, or I'm going to go back to 5.1. I'm going to agree with Bruce Barnes. There's a lot of, I call it trafficking our hard-earned tax dollars amongst yourself to make bigger government. That's what it is. There's going to be audits coming up soon. But hey, you know what? It's not heaven yet, is it? Not perfect. But we're going to do what we can to have the people stand up so that they can understand. There should be more people there speaking today. I also want to speak on your waste characterization study. You know, there it is again, a lot of hard-earned tax dollars going to a study and study after study after study. And what did it do? Did it educate the people at all? You don't even know how to get a hold of the people. You have no clue how to advertise to get people involved in what you're doing as their business. And it really ticks me off, especially when I'm in pain, believe me. So I'm against absolutely, I think it should be a crime that you sell or give away biosolid, biosludge, whatever you want to call it, the waste product from cleaning the water, which it never is clean, going down the Columbia River. It's going down here, my Lewis River here, polluting. And people don't know it, but you guys know it. You know that the water is not clean and that the biosolids are not fit for being called organic fertilizer. Yeah, it's organic and it might fertilize, but it's
Okay, your time is up. Is there anyone else, Michelle?
Chair, that concludes public comment.
Okay, thank you. On to old business. Are there any corrections to the minutes of October 22nd, 2025? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. It's been moved. Is there a second? I'll second. Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
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 Okay. I don't know. Counselor Belcut, you're on mute. I'm not sure I heard your aye. Well,
Can you hear
great.
me now?
Yes, yes, we can.
Well,
Thank you. It would have carried, but I wanted to make sure you got your eye in there. Thank
IT
you.
issues,
Thank you. Okay, business process amendment updates.
Yes, so I took the feedback from council last week and updated the business process for amending the council time agenda. I did send 2 copies to council, one that's the clean copy that you see online and one that showed the track changes. So just to summarize the changes from last time, I did separate number 3 into 3 and 4. So the first one would be the process for amending the agenda to remove agenda items. And then the second one would be to add agenda items. The main different or change also was if the chair will ask if there are any objections, and if yes, the council will vote on the requested action and proceed accordingly. That is the same also for adding agenda items. If council votes to not move forward with it, council can still move forward in accordance with the rules of procedure that allows 2 councilors to bring something to the chair to add it to the council time agenda.
Great. I know we discussed this last time, so thank you for writing it up so we could take a clear look at it. Are there any comments or questions, concerns?
I think this looks good. I think it's going to be a good improvement. And I don't know, Kathleen, if you could put in your notes when we look at rules of procedure next year.
It's already on that list.
What
It is already on that list.
right,
to
correct.
have that
But I'm
discussion.
suggesting something else to just that we could bring up later would be the possibility of allowing during council time comments related to prior work sessions in the day, not adding a time, but allowing potentially that. Something we can discuss at the beginning of the year again.
That's a suggestion. I don't know that we're going to take a vote on that, but.
No, no, that was,
It's
I was
just an
just,
idea to
yes, an
carry
idea.
forward.
Yep, to poke around with in the future.
Great. All right.
We're
Okay,
not,
so
Chair, we're not
yes.
finalizing this today, are we?
Are we
Well, this
finalizing
would
this?
be the practice that the council would be doing through the end of the year and then would be considered as part of the rules of procedure update in January of 2026.
Okay,
Hmm.
does that make sense to you, Councilor Belcott?
Yeah, I just wanted to have more time to review this.
Well, it's essentially just unofficially our policy that we're on our ballot, practicing through the end of the year, and then we'll have the public hearing for it in January. So we could always amend it at that time as well.
And there'll be opportunities for other changes at that time if anyone wants to bring them forward. I think this will help guide us for the remainder of the year. So I guess we're looking for 3 thumbs up at this moment.
Yeah, and just to restate, one of the main purposes, and we've talked about this over a couple of meetings, is to give the public an opportunity to know what's going to be discussed so that they have an opportunity to provide public testimony. So that is the main driving force behind this.
Right. Thank you. Okay, 3 thumbs up. I'm not sure. There's 4 thumbs up, and we'll be talking about this more in the new year. Thank you. Okay, on to new business, sales and use tax for housing and related services. Jordan, thank you. You provided us with some background information and help us talk about this.
Thanks, Chair. Good afternoon, Council. Again, for the record, Jordan Bogie, Senior Policy Analyst. As you'll recall, back in August, we had some conversations with Council about some of the options and activities that the Council could do related to addressing affordability and housing in the county. And one of the policy directions that we got from Council was to do some work on reviewing and looking into the possibility of taking these 1590 funds. They're called that because of the House Bill 1590, which originally implemented them, but is really the housing and the sales and use tax for housing and affordable housing and supportive services. And so I have been talking with some affordable housing developers in the county. I've been talking with internal county staff to get a little bit of more context and background for you all. And then I've got a little bit to walk you through today. And then there are a few decision points that I wanted to bring before you today for Council to discuss and to talk about how you would like to move forward. And so to give you some background, some of the key considerations, the funds would raise about $6.4 million a year for the county. And it's important to note that these would be funds that are raised countywide outside of the city limits of Vancouver. So this 0.1% sales tax increase that would fund this program would not apply within Vancouver city limits because they have already taken the tax. And so this tax would apply countywide outside of Vancouver. And at least 60% of funds that are raised through this mechanism need to go toward construction and acquisition of affordable housing. And that can be new units as well as upgrading existing structures or acquiring land to acquire or construct behavioral health related facilities or acquiring land for those purposes, funding the operations and maintenance cost of those new units that are created. Something that we've heard a lot is the ongoing challenge of O&M, operations and maintenance, for many of our programs. And so funding can be used through this program for that. And then the other key piece is that the affordable housing and the facilities that could be funded through this program, they must be provided to people who have incomes at or below 60% of AMI, area median income. And I have a little farther down a table that will talk about that. But it must be provided to particular vulnerable groups per RCW. And those include people with behavioral health disabilities, veterans, our seniors, those who are homeless, at risk of becoming homeless, including families with children, unaccompanied homeless youth or young adults, people with disabilities, or domestic violence survivors. And so at least 60% of the dollars that are raised with these funds have to be used for affordable housing and behavioral health facilities for those population groups. The remainder of the funds can be used for operation, delivery, or evaluation of behavioral health treatment programs and services, or housing related services. And so that is to say that, and one of the decision points that we'll talk about a little bit later is that council could direct that a higher percentage of these funds be used for construction and acquisition of affordable housing and O&M for those services. Or, you could say we're going to at least do what the state minimum is. And so that's a choice that the council could make. And so that's something I'd like to talk about a little bit later. When we talk about AMI, area median income, and 60% of AMI or less, what does that mean? What does that look like? In Clark County, HUD, so the Federal Housing and Urban Development Department, for a family of four, 60% of area median income would be just under $75,000 household income for the year. If you're talking about just a couple, it is just under $60,000 a year. And then you can see in the table, you've got the limits here by AMI percentage and family size. And we've got it broken down here, 60, 50, and 30% of AMI. And then how many people you have in your household contributes to that level. And so the housing and services that would be funded through this program, if the council decides to adopt it, would be targeted at individuals and families making those amounts, and they are updated annually by HUD. And so if we could keep going down here, please. I've just got a little bit of information about the landscape, why this is happening. As we think about this, why is this important? Clark County is experiencing a trend of increased housing costs for both buyers and renters. We are experiencing rapid population growth and a limited supply of housing. And that has led to increases in the share of county residents who are rent burdened. That is a term in the research literature. Typically, you are rent burdened if you are paying more than 30% of your income toward housing costs. And it's also, increasing those who are vulnerable as housing prices rise. They may fall into homelessness, and our impacts are being felt most acutely by our county's most vulnerable residents. And so, per your direction to utilize the tools at the county's disposal to improve housing affordability and increase the number of housing units available, this is something that could be considered because recent headwinds like inflation, the increasing cost of materials, and reduced value for low-income housing tax credits, as we saw with the Weaver Creek project, it's creating issues for our nonprofit housing developers. They've squeezed those folks to the point where it's getting more challenging for those affordable housing projects to be financially feasible. And so I've got a couple of draft policy goals to deal with this revenue based on the conversations I've had with folks, both counselors individually as well as county staff. And I present this to you for your consideration as kind of a potential start of a framework and a roadmap for these funds. And they would be items such as a holistic countywide approach to affordable housing development. As I said, these funds are being raised outside of the city of Vancouver. And so the funds would target both the unincorporated part of the county as well as our smaller cities to support their efforts to develop affordable housing and make those projects pencil out. To maximize and provide resourcing for affordable housing development outside of the city of Vancouver, to maximize the production of income qualified housing for households at or below 60% of AMI. And that is a key decision point for council as well. There's a bit of a tension between maximizing the number of units that you can create and also for maybe our most vulnerable population, permanent supportive housing, things like that. They tend to be more expensive because they come with wraparound services. And so, that with limited dollars, council is going to have to decide whether you would like to take, if this ends up being more of a RFP kind of process annually, if you'd rather take it on a case-by-case basis, or whether council would like to provide policy direction in terms of maximizing units versus allocating funds to maybe support some of our most challenging population, or how council would like to prioritize that as applications for funding are received, and as county is thinking about how we want to utilize those funds if council ultimately wants to move forward. Another policy goal that I've seen in talking to folks is prioritize the sustainability of affordable housing over time, making sure that housing remains affordable and that it can be operational, particularly for these supportive housing projects. Again, that require service delivery, and that is an additional ongoing cost in addition to the typical costs that housing has just over time to keep up with infrastructure needs. And then finally, align funding to provide operations and maintenance funding for units that serve the most vulnerable households. And so, for those projects that are not don't have as many wraparound services, or maybe no wraparound services, maybe there's less of an O&M component, but for those that are, want to make sure that we are being farsighted in terms of not setting up projects to not be able to succeed in the medium to long term. And so if you'll scroll down a little bit farther, I've got some decision points for council, and this is really the jumping off point for the conversation. Sorry, a little bit higher there. There we go, perfect, thank you. And so the structure of the fund allocation is definitely a decision point for council. Do we want to structure this as a grant program, as a loan program? Does council want to utilize a percentage of revenue? Up to 50% can be used for bond payments. So we're looking at conservatively about $3 million a year that could be leveraged toward a bond payment for this program if council would like. And unlike the 1406 funds, which, as you'll recall, is a tax credit that we get from the state that sunsets in 14 years, this funding is ongoing. And so if council wanted to leverage a larger dollar amount, that could be done through bonding as well. Then there is a question of whether council would like to treat this as we treat many other of our sales tax programs. So think mental health sales tax and public safety sales tax when there is balance available. There's an annual RFP process for considering proposals and scoring them and funding them accordingly. Would council like to do that, or would council like to have a different structure? There are some considerations around what kind of committee you would like to use, whether we'd like to set up a new advisory board or repurpose an existing group. One that has come up is the Urban County Policy Board as a potential option if you wanted to expand their role, because they are looking kind of countywide and they have representation kind of from across the county as well. But that is something that I'd like to talk with council a little bit and see if you had thoughts about what kind of direction you'd like to pursue. Any other further direction you'd have about how you'd like to prioritize this funding stream. And then there would need to be, per RCW, the creation of an interlocal agreement with the city of Vancouver, since they are currently taking their own funding. They've already levied this sales and use tax. And so we would have to set that up as well if we were to spin this up. And then the final item that I'd want to highlight for council that's not on this list is just a note that if council would like to start receiving disbursements from this tax at the beginning of the second quarter of next year, we would need to have a hearing and adopt this sales and use tax by January 16th. And so that's the deadline there. And so at that, I'll pause for any questions, and then really would love to open it up to council for your thoughts and any direction you might have about some of these outstanding questions. And then if council is interested in moving forward, we can find some time to get that hearing scheduled either later this year or early next year to start moving forward with this.
Thank you, Jordan. You've got a lot of options laid out for us. And just from initially, are there things that we need to decide today to move this forward? Are there decisions that we can make after that, or do we need to advise you on everything all today?
So, great question, Chair. No, you don't have to advise on everything today. I think the structure and the plan for the use of funds can be developed as the ordinance process is moving forward. I think really the one big timing issue is related to the timing of when that tax would go into effect. And so that's that January 16th date. Everything else, I think we can take the time that we need to figure it out and get the process right and get the policy direction from council about how you would like to move forward with this and the process you'd like to use and the priorities you'd like to set. They don't have to be decided today, but I did want to get the conversation with the full council started today.
Great, thanks. I just wanted that context. I don't want to curtail any discussion, but just to know that if we don't hammer everything out today, we'll have some time to continue the conversation. So I'll just open it up to council members to start this off.
Chair, I have a question.
Yes, yes, please go ahead.
My connectivity is being very strange today. Maybe you mentioned it already at the beginning, Jordan, because I had to restart this meeting for myself. But how much would this tax residents, and how does the collection work with it? I guess I missed that part. Sorry.
No, absolutely. That's a great question, Counselor. So this is it's a sales and use tax. So it is, it would be an additional 0.1% sales tax. So, you go to the store, you go out to dinner, you have your sales tax portion of the receipt. This would increase that by 0.1%. It would raise about $6.4 million for the county to utilize annually for this purpose. And the city of Vancouver already is taking this tax. So if you buy something within the city of Vancouver limits, you're paying the sales tax. So this would really impact the unincorporated part of the county and the smaller cities within the county that have not yet taken this 1590 tax yet.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Councilor Young.
Thank you. I still feel like we need to bring somebody in from the outside to help us develop an overarching plan, not just for this fund, but for all of our funds, so that we have a really concrete plan, vision, and goals for what we intend to achieve with this, not only this, but then the other funds as well, how they can better correlate and work systematically together to achieve the goals that we develop. I feel like we need some assistance from outside, somebody that doesn't have a lot of other duties that they're already assigned to, which is relative to our staff here. It's not like they can hang up their hat and take on a big project like this. So I think it would be a good idea to bring somebody in from the outside that could be dedicated to it, walk us through the process, and it could be a public process where people can see how we intend to use these funds. And I'm very open to this, but my support hinges on having a solid understanding in the direction of how the funds will be used prior to my supporting the adoption itself.
I just have a clarifying question. By all funds, what funds are you talking about as far as a comprehensive plan? If you could specify.
So mental health sales tax, opioid abatement council, Urban County Policy Board, this funding, and kind of even a look into some of the funding through community services in terms of some of the contracts that are delivered. I don't know that we would change anything, but I think that is a component of this entirety of the affordable housing crisis that we have and how we address it.
Thank you. Other comments?
Chair. So I hear what you're saying, Councillor Young. I agree. I think it's important to have a plan, but I mean, if you're asking or wondering how these funds can be utilized, I think it's spelled out under key considerations, and it also spells out who these funds serve, which are the most vulnerable community members in Clark County. So I guess I'm not really sure to what extent you're wanting to understand how to utilize these funds if it's being spelled out here. So
Well, it's a matter of intent, how we plan to use it. So, and then also, I mean, these are very kind of high level descriptions. So I'm sure that, you know, they could spend time looking at other jurisdictions to see how they might be using all of their funds and looking at how their different fundings cross and come up with an idea of how we can make the system better.
yeah. So the city of Vancouver is already taking advantage of this tax. And so I think, I mean, and the fact that they're good partners, right? Maybe we could leverage their knowledge and see how they allocate these resources. And I'm familiar on how they get allocated because the organization that I work for has applied for these funds. By the way, they didn't get them, but they did, or at least at the city of Vancouver. And so I'm somewhat familiar with how they've structured it and how you go about requesting these type of funds, which is through an RFP. Now, if we want to change that and modify it a little bit, I think that, I mean, it's worth kind of investigating how other jurisdictions might do that.
Yeah, and then that's kind of I'm sorry, Chair, did you need to say something? Okay. You know,
On Councillor Belcott next.
part of it is I really want to take a look at whether we do an RFP process or not. And the reason I say that is because the way that it's happening now, and this is in no way meant to disparage anybody that's on these committees, but they are, you know, they're scoring these grant applications and we're issuing the grants without a real policy direction. So it's kind of like a whichever projects look the best, but there's no plan saying, you know, we're going to focus on this specific area, you know, because it can be used for lots of different things.
Okay, Councillor Belcott.
I'm having a really hard time with another imposed tax, especially when we have a lot of families struggling in the county. And I know that the taxes that the city has implemented has discouraged a lot of people from doing business or visiting businesses within the city of Vancouver. That is an issue. The Columbian recently released a story about how business is declining in downtown Vancouver specifically. I've had a lot of people talk to me about all these different taxes that is just completely continuing to come down on taxpayers. It's one tax after another. And then I know that we have a deficit and we're going to have to figure out how to address that. Putting one more tax on our people, it's a lot. And, yeah, I just don't think the timing of this is great with a record-setting session in the legislature for other taxes. I mean, they set a record. So I don't think that I wouldn't support this.
Okay, did you want to?
Yeah, just
Say a few
one
things
last
else?
comment I would say, and again, to me, this is the crux of this argument here, not argument, but conversation, is this money can be effective and it can be ineffective. Either way, you collect it from our citizens, which is a legitimate issue. We are all feeling the strain of higher taxes and higher expenses for all of our normal living expenses. I would say, however, that it is way more expensive to deal with homelessness than it is to make sure that people are housed. Way more expensive.
Yeah, I agree, Councillor Young. And to put it in perspective, on a $50 dinner, you're looking at an additional 5 cents in taxes. So it's really a drop in the bucket. And I agree with Councillor Belcott. I know a lot of community members are struggling financially, especially with what's happening at the federal level. However, I also completely, and there's plenty of evidence to support what you just said, Councillor Young, that it is far more expensive to deal with homelessness, which we're seeing an increase in the city and in this county, right? And I think you cited a few weeks ago, Chair, that we have one of the highest eviction rates in the state of Washington, right? So addressing homelessness, addressing poverty, addressing the lack of affordable housing, or really any type of housing, long term is far more expensive than 5 cents on $50 dinner.
Thank you. It's difficult that we don't have a lot of options in terms of raising funds to meet critical needs. Sales tax in particular, regressive tax. But I agree that this is a nominal amount that can help produce some real results for critical needs that are happening right now. And so I would like to move this forward, although I do very much agree with you, Councillor Young, that it is important to have some guiding principles for each of these funds and seeing how these funds that we have can support each other, because they each have their own specific instructions on how those funds can be used. So I agree with that need. And I think it's important for the public to understand how we intend to use the funds. Now, 6.4 million really is not a lot of money. And I don't know, Jordan, maybe you can remind me, how much did we provide the Weaver Creek project to help support, and maybe what was the total, just as an example of a project that might have be able to be funded? How much was the total, and how much did we provide?
So the county provided, over the summer with the 1406 funds and future 1406 revenue, the council provided $5.5 million to the Weaver Creek project to help them bridge that gap over the next several years. I do believe, and I don't have the numbers right in front of me or off the top of my head, but I do believe in total, because the county did also provide some other funding to the Weaver Creek project previously, that it was something north of $8 million total commitment when it was all said and done. And I want to say the entire project was 80 something, 90 million. But I would need to go back and double check that for you. I can get those numbers to council after this.
Okay. And so, I think the real benefit in having what's not going to be a huge amount of money, but can be a significant piece of a puzzle to bring a project forward. And I recall that Weaver Creek project that was 100 units.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Councilor Belcott.
I have two questions, Jordan. Would this be for this tax being implemented, would this go to the taxpayers for a vote, or would it go for council to a vote to implement it?
Great question. So that is really up to council. It could be done council-manically or through a vote of the people. So the RCW allows for either process, whichever council would prefer. The timing consideration with bringing it to a vote, it would not, obviously, it'd have to go to a ballot probably in August or November next year.
Okay. And then how did this come to us?
So this was one of, when we had, council had asked me to put together a work session on affordable housing over the summer. And we talked a little bit at the work session in August about some of the different potential options, both in terms of financial as well as some of the regulatory and zoning things like the HOSAP and other activities that council has been engaged in. And at the time, there was a council majority direction to go back and look at this in a little bit more detail, and then bring it back to you kind of for the next step of whether you'd like to move it to a hearing to adopt, or how council would like to move forward at that point.
All right. Well, I just personally, I'm not about taxation without representation of my constituents. I know like the city likes to impose a lot of taxes without asking or listening to anybody that resides and lives in the city, and I don't support that. So thank you.
Jordan, this would require a public hearing, is that correct?
That is correct, Chair.
Thank you.
And then just really quick for the record, the Weaver Creek affordable housing project was about $40 million as of July 2025. It was mentioned that it was 90 million, so it wasn't that expensive. That's 900,000 per unit.
Thanks, Counselor. I must have been thinking of something else.
Thank you. Other comments?
No, just other than I support and I agree with Councillor Young that and especially we're including all these other funding sources to look at bringing in somebody from outside to be able to help us kind of navigate how we structure these funds and disperse them.
Okay, a concern would be how long that process may take and whether or not we want to move this forward sooner or later. So that's my question to you all.
So I think for me, I think I would probably be okay moving forward once we have an RFP from staff that I feel comfortable with. And at that point, I would be willing to move forward with it.
An RFP for a consultant?
Mhm.
Okay. Is that something that can be done? I won't say fairly quickly because I know it's budget season, but before the 16th of January.
I could say yes, we can do that before the 16th. I'm not sure about before the end of the year because we have very limited meetings left with council.
Okay. Okay. So I mean, sounds like there's a possibility.
Okay.
And we'll also pull together because like I know the opioid committee council actually did set policy. So they're, so they are operating under policy direction, but we can pull that together as well as part of the RFP.
Well, it seems like it just initially it's looking at what the mandates are for each of the funds and whatever policy the council has already set and seeing how those things align.
I would also to add that they take a look at any other resources that we are using to address the issue, just basically countywide, whatever we're spending on this issue, whatever funding we're using, so that there might be things that we don't see very often here at the council level. And I wouldn't want to exclude that if it has an impact on affordable housing and all the other things that we're working to accomplish with those various funds.
Okay, so anything that the county is doing related to affordable housing.
Including like behavioral health, mental health, opioid usage, homelessness. I mean, all of that, they are all kind of linked together.
I think as far as developing an RFP, there would need to be a little clearer direction. Just my take.
Yeah,
So the
'cause
three. Oh,
that
okay.
would be helpful because we have the knowledge now on what we can spend it on and where we're spending it. So, I mean, that's just calling our staff to say, okay, where's mental health sales tax going right now? Where's the parameters? Like Jordan just outlined the parameters for this one. So we have that baseline information already from staff. So.
Okay, maybe we could just list all of that in there and then just ask them to look if there's anything we might be overseeing.
Yeah. Can I ask a question? It's just me thinking about next year. First, Jordan, can you confirm the January date is just so the collection can start in the second quarter? That is not a drop dead date to make a decision. That's just starting the tax collection. I just want to make sure I'm not missing something on there.
Yeah, thanks, Kathleen. That is correct. In conversations with some of councilors individually and some of the affordable housing developers and things like that, there have been questions of, oh, well, how soon can this happen if council did want to move forward? And I just wanted to make council aware that, yeah, basically the 16th is only a is only a drop dead date for starting collections at the beginning of the second quarter of next year.
And then
you
we
know.
don't receive those funds until like 2 months after that, just so the
Right,
council knows.
there'd be more of a delay.
Yeah.
So any further, if we didn't get it done by the 16th, essentially that would just push back when collection begins on this, if that's what council decides to do.
So the one thing that I've been thinking about over the last couple weeks, as we've talked about strategic planning and setting policy for council, is, I'm reaching out to my partners to say, is there somebody out there who's a good facilitator in strategic planning for councils? I mean, I've done it with my own areas, but just to see, and maybe this could be incorporated into that. So it's more of an overarching strategic planning policy development for council, and this would be one component of that. How would that look?
Okay, let's make it even more
just have to-
complicated. But I
No, I
think,
And
think
have to
that's
find
great.
funding.
yeah, that makes some sense. And I think there is value to looping the cities in to this process at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Because that's one of the reasons I think this is worthwhile, because if each of the cities took this fund, it'd be very small amount of money that they could raise. So there's an opportunity for us to be able to decentralize affordable housing and supportive housing even more. Councilor Belcott, you've had your hand up for a while. Go ahead.
I just have one more comment. I'm looking at this list in front of us. It's been mentioned several times. It's a nominal fee, our most vulnerable. But if you look at this list, there are several categories of these people that continue to show up to our council meetings and keep saying to stop the taxes because we're making them our vulnerable citizens by continuing to tax them, which has been another issue with the annexation concerns with some of my constituents in my district. If we continue to tax these people, we are going to put them into our vulnerable population. I hope people realize that. Thank you.
I've been hearing mostly from my constituents about the need for affordable housing. Other comments?
I have two. That's what I ran my campaign on.
Okay, other thoughts? Councilor Belcott, did you have another comment? Your hand's up. Okay. Okay, so we'll try to figure out where we're at this point. To move this forward, what's your desire in terms of moving this forward?
Well, I mean,
Are we saying, yes, let's move this forward and then we'll do the strategic planning and incorporate this fund and other funds into that strategic planning? You had mentioned, Councilor Young, you wanted to see an RFP for a consultant before you'd agreed to this. I don't know if the conversation has advanced beyond that, or please give me some feedback.
I would still feel comfortable with that. I think it won't take that long for us to get an RFP ready. I mean, hiring a consultant and going through the process is a different story, but getting the RFP ready for publicizing.
And the RFP that we're talking about at this point, is it consistent with what the county manager has?
Yeah,
suggested?
absolutely. I
Okay,
agree with that.
Okay,
Yep.
good. Other
No,
thoughts?
I think we're ready to go.
Okay. Let's see. And do we need to decide at this point, Jordan, as far as percentages? Because it sounds like we can make decisions about percentages that would go to the supportive services versus just the housing itself. And I think that decision maybe could well benefit from the strategic planning that we might be undertaking. So is that something that we could consider later?
Yeah, I mean, if council would like to hold off on making some of those decisions and sort of fold that into the process that you are talking about, we certainly can do that. I'll work with whoever to help build the plane either before or while flying it as council would like us to do.
Okay. All right, so I'm looking, I guess, for 3 thumbs up to move this forward to a public hearing that would, are we saying would need to occur before January 16th?
If you want the collection to start the first day of the second quarter of 2026.
Is there a notice requirement,
For public hearings, yes, it's either 10 or 15 days
10 or
notice.
15
And
days?
and Jordan, you did confirm that this does require a public hearing because I know with the criminal justice sales tax, it did not.
I do believe so because it involves an ordinance, which my understanding is that most of the time, because I think that the 1590 was a resolution, and because this would be an ordinance, I do believe it requires a public hearing, but I can double check with our legal folks, but I'm pretty confident that it does.
And I have one more question. Is this something that could be sunsetted?
I don't see why not. I don't think there's anything in the RCW that talks about sunsetting, but whether to impose or not impose this tax would be under council's purview. So I can double check that as well. But I would assume that if you said we want to take this for some duration of time, that could be incorporated into the language that that incorporates and authorizes this tax.
I just tossed that out as an option. You know, we could do it like 10, 20 years. We could do it 20 years that would coincide with a comprehensive plan. Since housing is a critical element of that, I think this is something that could help us meet the GMA goals. Councilor Belcott.
So if there's no public hearing requirement, then there is the possibility of putting it on the ballot then.
I think that
Yeah.
that is an option to put it on the ballot.
Okay, thank you.
Would folks like to discuss the option of putting it on the ballot? One question I have related to the ballot, because I think previously we had heard it's pretty expensive to put something on the ballot.
Pretty expensive to pay taxes.
Thank you. Do we recall what that would be?
Yeah, it will always depend too on what ballot and how many things are on there. But when we were looking at this November, I believe for one, it was like close to $1 million.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Councilor Belcott?
No.
Okay.
Could I just add real quick
Yes,
too?
please.
That I think an important part of this is evaluation, giving us a framework for how we can evaluate what our accomplishments are and see if we need to course correct, really setting up a good framework for the fund to be successful, all of our funds.
Be part of the strategic planning process.
Could you share that with what was that?
That's part of the strategic planning process, right?
Yes,
You do your
good.
SWOT analysis, see where we're at today,
Yep,
and then
yep.
you always are looking at that to see where you need to adjust.
Good. I think whether or not a public hearing is required, I think I would suggest we have a public hearing. I think this is important enough, certainly to have a public hearing and hear what the public has to say one way or the other.
I would agree.
We need that
I
information.
can appreciate the transparencies.
And I would recommend that public hearing be the first part of January.
That sounds
You have 4 public hearings next week or 5. So just for timing purposes on our agendas this year, I would wait till the first part of January.
okay. If we wanted to meet that January 16th date and have 15 days,
We can notice it at any time as long as we
Okay.
meet the minimum. Our first January meeting is the first Tuesday in January. That's our first meeting.
January 6th, okay.
One quick question, Jordan, if we don't make that January, I'm kind of feeling like a sense of urgency that I don't know that really exists. So can you explain to me what the difference would be if we miss the January 16th?
So let's say we, council wants to review the RFP more. There's a little bit more work to do, and you don't end up, having a hearing on this until February. Then collection of this tax could not begin until the beginning of the third quarter of 2026. So that is the that's the only time sensitive piece of this that we're talking about. So it's not
Sure.
a ability or inability to take the tax or anything like that. It's when collection would begin.
Which would be 3 months, a quarter.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
That's fairly significant.
It's as urgent as we want to make it, I think. Okay.
I would say we definitely set the goal of January 16th. See if we
See if we can
can
get there.
make it all happen.
Okay, so officially, let's see thumbs in order to bring this, keep this on track and moving forward. 3 thumbs up. Is there a thumb down? There's a thumb down. Thank you, Councilor Belcott, and thank you, everyone. This has been a good discussion.
Just want to confirm the thumbs up is to move forward with the ordinance, the public hearing before that January deadline. So probably the first meeting, maybe the second meeting in January. And we will move forward with drafting an RFP for strategic planning process that will begin next year as well in January.
Perfect.
And so that RFP, at least the draft language will be available prior to the hearing?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
because this is not, the RFP is not going to be tied to this hearing. It's going to be tied to council strategic planning.
Okay, great.
And just a kind reminder, while we might have the draft language and stuff, and I can probably get that to you within the next couple of weeks, we only have a few staff that work that process. So sometimes it's out a few months before it can even be published, just
Okay,
because of
yeah.
staffing constraints. Thank you.
Great, understood. Okay. Yes, okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jordan. This was a good discussion.
Thank you, Council.
Okay, moving on to councilor reports. Yes, go ahead, Councilor Fuentes.
I just have one. I did attend last night's FAC meeting. So the Public Health Advisory Council. And I understand that last week's retreat was canceled as a result of needing a little bit more time to discuss the 2 different models that we could potentially restructure the
I think there's
Board of Health?
potentially various models.
Okay, okay. There were 2 models mentioned yesterday, last night. They were the topic of discussion. And so they are looking at rescheduling that time and potentially inviting over, and I forgot where she's from, but Jamie from, it wasn't
Westfalfo.
Westfalfo, thank you, Westfalfo, who is a subject matter expert in how the Board of Health for counties across the state are structured. So I think that they're looking at bringing her in and giving us some information. Is that correct?
So I'm actually reaching out
You
to
are.
them. I've been chatting with the chair, and I think I provided updates to council as well. So because we want to make sure that there's a thoughtful, facilitated discussion to look at all options, and having that independent person who doesn't have a strong opinion one way or another, but can help facilitate. That is the goal. So I'm working with the chair. I did share that with Dr. Melnick. And that will bring together also, I think last time it was Councillor Young and Councillor Marshall with some of the FAC members and Dr. Melnick and I and staff to really look at that agenda to make sure that it works so that we're all on the same page and have a good path forward. None of that had happened before this schedule. So I think it caught some folks off guard because it was just a broad agenda item with no clear, thoughtful way to have that discussion, because some folks have very strong opinions one way or another, or in between.
And it's a significant decision, and might take us some time to, and a little research to figure it out.
And
So,
when it sounded like they were committed to being a little more prepared and more thoughtful about the agenda when they come back to the council.
Yeah, so I'll give Dr. Melnick a call because he's not supposed to be doing any of that right now.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
through my office.
Thank you. And I know that Councilor Young and I got a chance to listen to the different models that could be applied to the Board of Health, which I found incredibly helpful, but it'd also be very helpful that everybody else had a chance to listen to the different models and options out there.
great, thank you. Do you have something?
Yes, I have a few. I didn't do this last week. Caught me off guard last week, so I got a couple. Last night, the Clark County Accessible Community Advisory Committee met. They are doing some great work. They're a strong committee, and we're currently working on Jordan minimizing his role there. He's really done an excellent job of facilitating this group for a long time, but they are a strong group, and they're moving forward with really taking control of their own agenda And so he'll continue in a support role, but it will be significantly smaller. So it's exciting to see this group unfold. And, you know, they keep commenting on about how all of the different departments of the county are, you know, learning how they can use the committee for support in their planning processes and such. So it's fun to watch that unfold. I'll let Chair Marshall report on the symposium. And then I can't remember, I don't think I mentioned this, but we had the first meeting of the Parks Task Team, which is a rep from staff and an elected official from each jurisdiction in Clark County. Super excited. Very, very grateful for staff having worked to develop this. And I have high hopes for our ultimate outcome, but we did have the first meeting, which was kind of determining order of business and when we're going to meet and things like that. I will keep you up to date as things move forward on that. And the last thing I did want to report on the Urban County Policy Board, I feel like this is rerun. So if it is, stop me. But the largest part of our conversation that meeting was around the building that the CDBG fund of Clark County owns in Battleground, which houses the WIC, and it's run by CMAR. And we had a really good conversation about lots of different things, you know, the value of the home, or not the home, of the building, and the expense to renovate the building. When we had been updated in the past on the expense to renovate, it became clear to us during the meeting that those figures were from 2019. So it's probably going to be significantly more than what was originally anticipated. And CMAR was there as well, which was great. It was the first time we were able to have them in the room to discuss what they're looking at. And we had asked them the question if they had considered whether a new location would work for them. And then we're working with staff to see if it's possible to potentially sell the property, but not have it close until a new property is identified, because we have the timeliness issue. We don't want the funds coming back into the CDBG funds and sitting there for a long time. So there's a lot of little creative ways we're looking at seeing if we can make it a situation where everybody wins in this, and that the taxpayers' money is used as effectively and efficiently as possible. So I will keep you up to date on that as well.
Great, thank you. I know that's been a bit of a needle to thread in figuring that out. So thanks for your efforts in that realm. And just to give an update, our Clean Water Department organized a forum that was held yesterday for really the better part of the day, although I wasn't able to stay there the whole day. But Councillor Young and I attended. It was on non-point source pollution in our waterways. There was a number of organizations there, which is really important because non-point is really sources of pollutants that come from across the landscape. So it really takes everybody coming together, including private property owners, to be able to address the problem. So very successful. So kudos to them. Any other reports? Okay. Work session requests.
Yes, there is one. This is for next year. Public Works, they're currently undergoing a waste characterization study. So they're wanting to bring back the results next year. This is reviewing the composition and characteristics of our local waste stream. And it'll allow us to see some trends, informing rate setting decisions, enhancing transparency, evaluating for effectiveness and others. And this will help also set the conversation and policy direction on like a possible fourth transfer station in the northern part of Clark County, and then also relocating the recycling processing center from West Vancouver Minerals. So it's going to bring a bunch of data to you. It's a short work session, answer questions and just get more, get council's initial feedback on that, and then start looking at path forward.
Great, sounds good. I think it's important because it really informs what people throw away, informs how we can better address reducing that waste. So, and I see they're looking at April 15th.
Yes,
So
like I said, it's a ways out there.
it's a ways out, but we might have 2 or 3 other work sessions the
Yes.
same day.
Yes.
Okay. Council, are you amenable to this work session? Okay, looks good.
Thank you.
Okay, policy updates. Jordan,
None today, Council.
would you like to report back a little bit on the meeting we had with some of our legislative delegation? Not
Oh,
everybody was there.
Sure, I'd be happy to talk a little bit about that. So last Thursday, we met with six of our legislative delegation. We'll be meeting with the other half tomorrow morning. Had a really great conversation talking about some of the county's priorities, talking with them just through a bit of the work that council has done over the last year. Something I've heard from our legislative delegation is that they do appreciate the updates on the county. They're not always following county business quite as closely as we all are. And I think it was a really robust conversation. Thinking about some of the different ways that we can work together on, in particular, continuing to support public safety and the jail project. I know it was a robust kind of discussion. Sales tax leakage did come up a little bit, as it has often in previous years, and we talked about some of the challenges about moving legislation forward related to that. And overall, I just really would express appreciation to the counselors for attending, as well as our legislative delegation. It's a really great opportunity to get everybody in the same room and just kind of connect for a little while and talk about the issues that are important to us and to them. And really looking forward to tomorrow's session as well.
Great, thank you. Great work in organizing it and providing a smorgasbord of issues from which the legislators can select what they were interested in. Okay, no more policy updates. That takes us to item 9, executive session for 42.30.110. Paren 1, paren little g for 10 minutes with potential after action. So we'll come back following that. Oh, at 2:20. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, council is back from our executive session. I believe is Councilor Belcott online? Okay, good. Just didn't see her. All right, so we are considering who we may want to interview or appoint or go out for more applications for the Planning Commission. There's 2 openings, 1 position for 6 years and 1 position for 4 years. Would anyone? Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion. I move that we appoint Ron Barca to the 4-year seat on the Planning Commission, and that we bring Eldon Wogan, Jeremy Baker, and Alicia Leduc Montgomery in for interviews for the 6-year term. Or did I say that the opposite way? Is that correct? Okay. Pardon? Yeah.
Can you please repeat the 3 for the
Yeah,
interview?
it would be Eldon Wogan, Jeremy Baker, and Alicia Leduc Montgomery.
Okay. Thank you. Are there 3 counselors that would be supportive of that?
I can support that.
I would support that.
Yeah.
And you would support that? Counselor Belcott? Oh, we might not be doing things correctly. We're open for correction.
Hello, Chris Cook, Chief Civil Deputy. There was a motion made. It needs a second.
A second, okay.
Second.
Second that.
Okay, 2 seconds, that's great. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Are there any other nominations? I guess that would be for interviews. Or do we want to close the?
You already, well, yeah,
Well,
I guess you
we
could
could
have
interview
more.
additional
Yeah.
people if, I'm just opening it up if there was I mean, we have in the past done a slate or not done a slate, but sounds like a slate. But if anyone wants to interview any additional person, they would like to put that forward, or we could close nominations.
Well, I think we could consider Nicole Morris, who was also recommended by the Community Planning Department as a fourth person to interview. Seems like she has background and familiar with rules and regulations of construction, and also serves on the natural resource as a natural resource specialist for Oregon DEQ.
Is that a motion?
It is a motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Counselor Belcott?
Nay.
Nay. Okay. All right. The ayes have it. Are we ready to close nominations for the Planning Commission interviews?
Yes.
Okay. Do we need a motion for that?
If you want to formally close, yes.
Okay, let's be formal today.
Well, I move to close nominations for Planning Commission candidates.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of closing nominations say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. It's been a productive session, and without objection, this meeting is adjourned.